So this is 2023, paper 1, question 1 for Leaving Clonard level. So the price of houses in a particular area have been increasing over a number of years. A house is valued at 240,000 at the start of 2019. By the start of 2020, the price of the house has increased by 8%. Okay. And by the start of 2021, the price of the house has increased by 9%. Based on the 2020 price. Work out the price of the house at the start of 2020 and the price of the house at the start of 2021. So the first thing we need to look at is these percentages. So 8% is 8 per 100. 8 over 100 or 8 per 100, which is the same thing, is 8 divided by 100, which gives us 0.08. Okay. Similarly, 9% is 9 out of 100 or 9 per 100. And if we were to divide 9 by 100, you get 0.09. Now, in this question, we're dealing with percentage increases. So you can see that we started off 2019 with 240,000 and we increased that amount by 8%. So we've got the full amount, which would be 1, and the increase there is 0.08. So we can see that the increase there is going to be 0.08. So we've got the full amount, which is 1, plus 0.08. So if we were to multiply 240 by 1.08, we'd get our new total, which is 259,200. Okay, starting to 2021, we've got our full amount, which is 259,200. But again, we're going to increase this by 9%, which worked out to be 0.09. So we've got the full amount, which is 1, plus 0.09. So that gives us 1.09. And if we were to multiply 259,200 by 1.09, we get our answer there, which is 282,528. So you can see there that the two answers that we need to fill in is the price at the start of 2020 and the price at the very start of 2020 was 259,200. And the price there at the start of 2021 was 282,528. That brings us along there to part B. So in part B, it says another house is valued at 460,000. 1 year later, the price of this house had gone up to 472,000. Work out the percentage increase in the value of this house over the year. Okay, so anytime you're looking for a percentage increase, you need to be able to work out what a percentage increase is going to be. So in order to work out what a percentage increase is, you need to know what the increase is going to be over the original amount, and then to turn that back into a fraction like we always do, we multiply by 100 over 1. So anytime you want to turn a fraction into a percentage, you multiply it by 100 over 1. So the increase over the original multiplied by 100 over 1. So the increase, first of all, we need to find out. So the increase is going to be the new amount, which is 472,000. The old amount was 460,000. So 460,000. By taking these two values away, we work out what the increase is. And we can see the increase there is going to be 12,000. And we divide that by the original amount, and the original amount we knew was 460,000. 460,000. Again, to turn this fraction here into a percentage, we need to multiply it by 100 over 1. So multiply by 100 over 1. Your calculator can do all this. So just take out your calculator, type in all this, and once you type in all this, you'll get this long answer here. And again, they want this one correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, so because they want to correct to 1 decimal place, what we need to do is we need to look at the percent or the decimal we're given, go back 1 space. So go to your decimal point, go back 1 space. We need to look at the number that follows, which in this case is 0. If this number was 5 or more, we'd round the 6 up to 7. Because this number here is less than 5, we just leave this as 2.6%. So this brings us on to part C. Part C. A third house is valued at 265,000 Over the following 4 years, the value of the house increased by R% each year compared to the previous years, where R is an element of R. So this R here just means real numbers. We know that real numbers are positive and negative whole numbers. They include fractions, decimals, everything, right? So real numbers are the ones that include everything. After 4 years, the house is valued at 370,000. Work out the value of R by setting F equals 370. So we can see there that F is equal to 370. So that's going to be F. P, or the principal, is going to be 265,000. So we know a value for P. And again, T is going to be equal to 4. So we know a value for T. So what they're really asking us to do is just take this formula here, sub in the F value, the P value, and the T value, and find out what R is. Okay, so obviously it's not the most straightforward. If they were asking us to find the value for F and if they gave us everything else, it'd be much more straightforward. Here we're going to have to use some algebra, some skills, just to move terms left and right to get the R by itself. Okay, so first thing I've done there, obviously we have to give our answer here to one decimal place. That's fine, we can do that at the end. So it says, first thing we're going to do is going to take the formula that we're given. So we can write that formula out. And you can see here, like I've shown you with the colours here, I've put 370 in instead of F. I've put 265 in instead of P. I've kept this as it was, bracket 1 plus R over 100, R over 100, because you don't know the value of R yet. Close your bracket, and then instead of T, I'm going to put it to the value of 4. Okay, so we're raising it to the power of 4. Doing each step as we go, we've gone from here to here. So far we've got our marks, our attempt marks for getting the first part of this right. Okay. The next thing we need to look at is how we can change this. So what we can do with this in order to isolate the R, because you have to remember with questions like this, you have to remember at the very last line, we want R equals to something. Okay. So the very last line, we want R equals whatever it's going to be. And you can see here, we've obviously worked it out. So the very last line is going to be R equals whatever. So that means that we need to isolate the R term. So we need to get the R here by itself. And that means we need to get rid of everything else. So if you look at this stage here, the first thing we can look at here is we've got something here. So we've got all of this here. We can consider it to be one whole unit. And you can see that we're taking this unit, whatever it is, and we're multiplying it by 265,000. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of this 265,000 from the right hand side, and we can do that simply by dividing the right hand side by 265,000. So if we divide this side here by 265,000, this here will be gone, and we'll be left with just this on the right hand side. Now, because we're dealing with an equation, whatever we do to the right hand side, we have to do to the left hand side. So we've got 370,000 on the left hand side. We need to make sure that if we're dividing the right hand side by 265,000, which we did, we have to do the same to the left hand side, and we have to divide that by 265,000. So you can see here that we divided the left hand side by 265,000. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is how we go from this step here to this step here. Okay, so if you were to look at this here, you can see that what we've done is we've got this value. Okay, I'm going to highlight this in yellow just so you can see. Everything here that's inside the brackets there in yellow is raised to the power of 4. Okay. Now you'll be used to seeing squares, cubes, squares and cubes mainly. But once you go past cubes, you go to the power of 4, the power of 5, the power of 6, and so on. Okay. Now, you need to be able to get the inverse operation. So the opposite, if you think about it, the opposite times is divide. The opposite to plus is minus. The opposite to multiply is divide. The opposite to add is subtract. The opposite to square is square root. The opposite to cubed is cubed root. The opposite to the power of 4 is actually what they call the fourth root. So this doesn't come up a whole lot at ordinary level. Leaving to ordinary level, but it's something that we are expected to know, right? So the opposite to power of 4 is the fourth root, okay? And you'll be able to see that in your calculator. It's a second function button, okay? So In order to get rid of this fourth to the power of 4, we need to get the fourth root. Okay, so you can see there how that links in with the inverse operation being to the fourth root. So we can take everything that we have there on the left hand side, get the fourth root of it, and that will give us this expression here, you could say. Now, because we got this, and because we took the yellow side, you could say, and we got the fourth root of it, it leaves us with just what's in the yellow. Okay, so the yellow just stays the same. Okay, this brings on to the brand new step. So now we're starting again, and we need to see how we can simplify this, or how we can get the OR term by itself. So you can see here, the OR term is being divided by 100, and then we're adding 1 to it. So in order to simplify this, what we need to do is we need to get rid of this plus 1. So if we subtract 1 from the right hand side here, we'd be left with just OR over 100, which is just OR over 100 on the right hand side. But because we took away 1 from the right hand side, we have to do the same to the left hand side. And this here stays the exact same, but we're going to subtract 1. Okay, so just to go over that one last time, you can see here we had 1 plus OR over 100. You're always thinking of your end goal, which is OR equals. So what we're trying to achieve here is we're trying to find the value for OR. So if we want OR equals, we need to isolate the OR terms, and that means we need to get rid of whatever's attached to it. So we can see here we're adding 1 to whatever this is. So we need to do the inverse operation, which means we need to subtract 1 from the right hand side. So if we subtract 1 from this side, this 1 will be gone. But because we have an equation, if we subtract 1 from this side, we have to make sure we do the same, and we need to take 1 away from this side. So we've got this big, this complicated looking expression here. So we've got 370,000 divided by 265,000, and we're getting the fourth root of that, and then we're taking away 1. And that will leave us with OR over 100. We're on the last step, well, one of the last steps now, where we need to get OR by itself. So we need to look at what's happening OR, and then we need to do the inverse to that, or the opposite to that. So you can see here at the minute, we've got OR divided by 100. So in order to get OR by itself, we need to times this here by 100. If we were to times this side here by 100, it's the same as multiplying by 100 over 1. These hundreds here will cancel, and we'd be left with just OR, or OR over 1, which is the same thing as having OR. But because we're timesing the right hand side by 100, we have to make sure we keep our equations balanced, and we have to multiply the left hand side by 100. And you can see here we multiplied this here by 100. If you were to type all of this into your calculator, you would get this answer here. And in the question, they asked us to give our answer to one decimal place. So if you count back one space, so go to your decimal point, go back one space, draw your imaginary line, look at the number that follows. If the number that follows is 5 or more, then we can round this 7 up to 8. But in this case, this number is less than 5. If the number is less than 5, we simply round off. So that will turn this into 8.7. So our answer there is going to be 8.7%.